In every single verse of this text, Jesus says something to the effect of, keep watch. Right? He says, be on guard, be alert, keep watch, therefore keep watch. Do not let them find you sleeping, watch. I think it's pretty easy to see that Jesus' main point in this text is to keep watch, right? But I think we all struggle with three temptations when we hear those words of Jesus. Those three temptations are the temptation not to watch, the temptation to watch too much, or the temptation to watch only. I'm going to walk through each of those. First, the temptation to not watch. I think this manifests itself differently in younger people versus older people. For younger people, the temptation to not keep watch is, I think, the temptation to say, Jesus hasn't come back for almost 2,000 years. Odds are he's not coming back in the next 5 minutes or the next 5 hours, so I can pretty much do what I want, and, well, Jesus will forgive me afterwards. It tends to be the temptation for younger people. I'm sure it happens to older folks, but it tends to be a little bit with younger folks more so. We need to remember the text, what Jesus says, right? That he's coming suddenly. Or as Paul says, like a thief in the night. You're not ready for him if you're living a life that doesn't acknowledge that he could come any moment. Makes me think of a friend of mine who was talking about his group of friends, and they all went out for a weekend, a boys' weekend, and one of the guys suggested something that was rather immoral, and another guy in the group said, I can't do that. What if Jesus comes back while we're there? I wish that would be the attitude that I always had in my heart. As a relatively young person, I still have that temptation to think, what I'm going to do for the next 5 minutes, it's going to be okay. I'll figure it out afterwards. But I need to hear those words. Jesus could come suddenly. And so in the same way, like I told the children, if Jesus could come any moment, are you prepared? Are you watching? If Jesus can come back this moment, or 2 hours from now, or tomorrow, or next week, whatever you're doing, would you be proud that he saw you doing it when he came on the clouds? If not, we need to repent. I think this manifests itself in a different way for older folks, though. It seems to me that when you get to about the second half of your life, you sort of have life figured out. Not that you have all the answers, but you sort of have a routine. This is how things go. This is what I like. This is what I do. This is how I get things done. And I think the temptation for older folks is to not watch in the sense that they will not be challenged to change anything about the way they live. Right, so younger people, we struggle more with the idea of what we do. Well, I think older folks, you struggle a little bit more with what you don't do. How easy it is once you've gotten yourself into a routine after going to the same job for a decade and a half or more. And you've lived in the same house for a decade and a half or more. To sort of say, I know how much I like of Jesus. This is what I'm comfortable with. I'm not going to change anything about my life. I'm just going to live out my days like this. The temptation is to not watch. The Bible uses this metaphor to talk about the Christian life. It talks about it like a race. And any of those of you who have run a race, you know what happens at the end of the race, right? You run faster. Because you know that once the race is done, there's no need for that energy anymore. The race is over. Let me ask those of you who are 40 years old and older, are you running faster now as the end of the race gets closer? Or are you doing what our culture tells you to do, which is to slow down, to take some time for yourself, to retire and relax? Now, I'm not saying there's no place in the life of those who have worked for many years to relax and rest. In fact, I'm a big advocate of relaxing and resting. But do we see our lives like Jesus sees them? Whether we're 14 or 40 or 80. The temptation for all of us is to not watch. To say, that's a problem I'll deal with some other time.